Okay, so in this video I'm going to be showing you how to change the McLeod Skinner for Converse t-shirt to McLeod Skinner Secretary of State by applying this heat transfer vinyl patch with a standard household iron. Couple words of precaution. Obviously we're working with a hot iron. I'm guessing if you have an iron available to you, you probably know how to use it or somebody around does. Follow all those precautions. Second, the surface you're working on. We need to make sure it's sturdy and can resist the heat we're going to be applying to it. The standard ironing board likely is not going to work because you're going to be applying too much pressure to it. There's a chance it could collapse. Some are built better than others, so I say don't take the chance. Use a nice sturdy work surface and make sure it can tolerate the heat we're going to be applying to it, and be safe. To do this, we're going to need a couple things. I'll go into detail on each item in a minute. Right now I'm just going to list them so we can make sure we all have them on hand. We're going to need our shirt. We're going to need our transfer. We're going to need our standard household iron. We're going to need that nice sturdy work surface that can resist the heat. We're going to need a cover sheet to put on top and protect our graphic as we iron it on. Okay, now that we got our items together, let's go over them in a little bit more detail. We've got our shirt. It's freshly washed and dried, no fabric softener. Our iron, I'm just using a regular old household iron. This is a Sunbeam. I've got it set to polyester. Our water is empty. We don't want any steam or water in here, not even accidentally. It's going to be bad for the process. So we got that preheating. I talked about our work surface a little bit earlier. Nice and sturdy work surface. Probably not a good idea to use your ironing board unless you know it can handle the pressure we're going to apply. Even then it's tricky because that padding is a little too soft. I'm working on my workbench here and I've got a folded towel underneath it. Got a nice smooth flat surface. I apply a lot of pressure to it and that's going to not burn or melt. It's going to be nice and protected. A block cutting, wood cutting board works very well. You might want to put the towel on that too. Just make sure it's something that can handle it and you're not going to melt. Last thing we need is a cover sheet. There's a few things you could do for this. I'm using standard parchment paper. You can get that at any grocery store, usually in the baking aisle or in the where they have the Ziploc plastic bags and things like that. If you have a Teflon sheet, you can use that. If you don't have either of those things, computer paper can work. But this stuff is really cheap at the store, and it can definitely withstand the temperature and will give us a pretty good result. But in a pinch, you can use a couple sheets of computer paper to cover the whole area. You just want it to be kind of plain and not coated. And that's about it for the details. We're going to go into the process here now. So the first thing we need to do is preheat our garment. Place your parchment paper over the graphic that's there. Use it to protect it from this iron. And then we're going to iron gently over the 4 Congress portion to get that all warmed up. About 15 seconds or so. Not huge pressure, just normal ironing pressure, just to get that heated up and ready for the graphic. That's probably pretty good. Alright, step 2 is going to be getting your graphic ready. So we have our transfer here. There's 2 parts to it. There's a top and a bottom. The white tab with the QR codes attached to is the top. We want the transfer to stick to that. We need to remove this back. You see this one's coming off pretty easy. Sometimes they can stick to this back. You don't want that. You got to nudge it over to this other side and then remove it. So what we have left is the patch and the tag. This can stay on. It's not going to hurt the process at all. It's actually going to help us in a little bit. So this little liner is a little sticky. We're going to use that to stick, but the back isn't. It's only the paper or the plastic on the top. We're going to use that to stick it down. So to position this, if you saw the sign video, it's very similar. We're going to use that top as a level edge and get it approximately equal. I'm eyeballing the left to right. I'm making sure I have the same amount of space hanging over the edge. And once I achieve that, I'm going to slide it up just even with the top, so it's even both sides, and then a little bit higher, just a little bit higher. I'm going to completely cover it. and then we're going to push that down just like that. Now that the graphic's in position and secured with the transfer tape, we're going to cover it with our parchment, and we're going to get to pressing. Now when we're pressing here, we need to, not just light press, but we're going to push down and use our shoulders and give that a good firm press. And we're going to do it in sections to make sure the whole thing gets covered, because my iron isn't quite big enough to cover the whole thing. It's very important to make sure the whole thing gets pressure and the full 20 seconds. So we're going to do it in sections. We're going to go ahead and start over here. I'm going to make sure I got it covered, and I'm going to put my iron down and I'm going to press down. I'm kind of leaning into it. I'm being careful not to touch the hot edge. I'm pressing nice even pressure, and I'm counting to 20 in my head. You don't need to wiggle it around, but if you want to move it just a little bit, you can, but keep it on this side. And keep that pressure even and down. And once we went to 20, we're going to go over here and do the same thing. 20 more seconds. It's better to overlap a little bit than miss any. When that's done, we go ahead and let that up. And we take a look. Cool that off a little bit. It's very hot, don't touch it yet. And this sort of thing is kind of natural. That'll change back once it gets washed. It's just from the heat. So we're going to take our tag and very gently watch these corners as you're peeling this. See this one lifted up just a little bit, but since the rest is stuck, I'm just going to smooth it down. And I'm going to continue on. And that's off. If the whole thing kept coming up, I would have put it down and repressed it. But it just came up in that corner a little bit. Cover it. Repress it. More pressure, more time in that section. Re-glue it down. Let's go ahead and just get that other side one more time. 6 or 7 more seconds. And we are done. That's how you change those shirts from for Congress to Secretary of State. Now that the patch has been applied, the last step is to go ahead and let this sit for 24 hours to allow that adhesive to fully cure and form a permanent bond with the fabric. When that's done, we wash and dry the shirt like normal, and then we're ready to wear it. Notice this shirt's already gone through the washer and dryer. It's sat, cured, and it's gone through the washer and dryer. All the iron marks are no longer there, and it's ready to go. This is now a permanent part of this fabric. Good luck, happy pressing. Let me know how it goes. Email is tony@ithink-ink.com.